Hi everyone, it's me, Spring, the fiber enthusiast. Welcome to my channel. So, are these long forgotten? I don't know. What are they? Well, they're mason jar lid covers, and they're usually used for decorating jars of, say, jam, jelly, things like that, gifted items. But I thought with the fall season coming up, you might be interested in creating your own potpourri stylish jar, if you would, by making this cover. And you can do it in cotton. I just grabbed some scrap yarn that I had and worked it up. But by getting a mason jar and lid, and taking the ring and taking the lid off. So if I flip it over like that, you can see that it's open. So there's no lid in there, it's just the ring. And you would fill your mason jar with, say, dry potpourri or something of that nature, cinnamon sticks. And you could set it on the table or anywhere out for decoration for the fall. So this is going to be a pretty simple pattern, and we will get started in just a moment. I'll let you grab whatever colors you would like. I just have a Karen Simply Soft scrap ball, and this one honestly has no label, and it is a thinner weight. It is approximately a light DK compared to our Karen Simply Soft, which is a 4. So you're going to want to make sure that the center is, either use a smaller hook or use a smaller yarn in the very, very center. That way it's not too large. Now, of course, if it's much larger, you can put it on a wide mouth jar lid instead of your standard. So you'll need a jar. You'll need a ring, which is the mason jar lid without the center. That's called a ring. And some yarn. It doesn't take much. Like I said, I just grabbed a couple scrap balls of yarn and worked from them. You'll also need a needle to sew in your ends, a crochet hook. I am using a 5mm crochet hook. You will also need a pair of scissors to cut your yarn as needed. All right, so go ahead and grab your items and we will get started. Okay, so for the center of this project, we're going to chain 4, so a slip knot on your hook and chain 4. Now, it's entirely up to you if you want to do the magic circle here. That's completely up to you. I just am doing a chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to slip stitch back to that first chain. Now I'm going to chain up 2, 1 and 2, and now we're going to start working these puff stitches. So you're going to yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that circle that you created. Yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to do that a total of 5 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over and go through all of those loops on your hook and chain 1 to complete. And you're going to do that 5 more times. You will have a total of 6 puff stitches from the center of this ring. So we'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, pull through all of those loops on your hook, and chain 1 to complete. So we now have 2 puff stitches in that ring. Go ahead and continue on until you have a total of 6 puff stitches, And I will meet up with you at the end where we will join to finish this ring and start with a new color. Okay, so I am now back at the beginning and have 6 total puff stitches, and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that first chain. There we go. And now we're done with this color unless you choose to continue working with the same color. I am going to be changing color here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off from my ball of yarn. Now I won't use that color again until I'm at the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and sew in my tails here, and we'll start our next round. Okay, so now that my tails are sewn in, we are going to be working in between these puff stitches in those chain 1 spaces. And we're going to do the same exact thing. We're doing puff stitches again. This time we will be putting 2 puff stitches in between each of the previous row puff stitches. So you will have a total of 12 puff stitches when you're done. So I'm just going to insert my hook between 2 of the puff stitches. It doesn't really matter where. If you are continuing with the same color, you would just slip stitch to your first chain space between the puff stitches and start with your chain 1, 2. And now we are going to work over our tail. And again, same thing as before. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. We're going to do that a total of 5 times. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then yarn over, pull through all of your loops, and chain 1. And do that one more time into that same chain 1 space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, pull through all of those loops, and chain 1. All right, so now you're just going to repeat that in every chain 1 space until you have reached the end, and then slip stitch to the top of that chain 2 at the beginning. You should have 12 puff stitches when you have completed round 2. Okay, so once you've reached the end of the round and slip stitch to the top of your chain 2, you're going to slip stitch over 1 stitch to the top of your first puff stitch. You're now going to chain 1. This round is going to be a half double crochet round. We will be working 2 half double crochets into this very first stitch. So there's 1 and 2, and 1 half double crochet into the chain 1 space in between the 2 puff stitches. So if you're following along with me, you should have 2 half double crochets on top of every puff stitch and 1 half double crochet in between the groups of, in between each of the puff stitches. So we'll get one close look at that. On top of the puff stitch, 2 half double crochets into the chain 1 space, 1 half double crochet. Continue working your way around. When you have reached your way around to the end, slip stitch to your very first half double crochet. I will meet up with you at that point. All right, so I'm coming up to my very last stitch, which will give me a total of 36 half double crochets. Okay, so now we're going to be working back loop only. When you When you end this round and you have 36 half double crochets, you're going to slip stitch to the back loop of that very first half double crochet, chain 1, and single crochet into that same stitch. Place 1 single crochet in every stitch around. You should have 36 single crochets at the end of this round. When you get to the end of this round, slip stitch to the very first single crochet. Continue working around and I will meet up with you at the end. All right, once you have your 36 single crochet back loop only all the way around, you slip stitch to your very first one. We're going to chain 1 and single crochet back into that same stitch. And now you're going to chain 1, 2, and 3. You're going to skip 2 and single crochet into the next. Skip, skip, and single crochet into the next. Chain 1, 2, 3. Skip 1, 2, and single crochet into the third. Chain 1, 2, 3. Skip 1, 2, single crochet into the next. Continue all the way around, slip stitching to your very first single crochet. I'll meet up with you on my last chain 3. Okay, so I'm at my last 1, 2, 3. I'm going to slip stitch to that very first single crochet. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 3 space. This is the last round. And on this round, we will be doing these petals here into those chain 3 spaces. Okay, so chain 1 and single crochet into the chain 3 space. We're going to put all of this into one chain 3 space. So we have a single crochet, half double, double, half double, and single. We'll do that in the next chain 3 space. Single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet. So we have just completed 2 of the petals. Go ahead and continue all the way around, slip stitch to your very first single crochet, and I'll show you how to finish this little mason jar can topper. Okay, so here I am at the very end. As I said, I'm going to slip stitch to that very first single crochet and cut away from my ball of yarn. And now I will sew in that end and show you what to do next. All right, the last and final step is to put a tie on it. Just a simple strand of twine or a contrasting color yarn, ribbon. You could use all kinds of different things. Let your imagination run wild as far as that goes. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to thread my needle with the original color yarn that I started with. Thread my needle, and I'm just going to pick a spot and go down through the chain 3 space and up through the next one. And I'm just going to weave back and forth through these chain 3 spaces until I have reached back to the beginning where I had started. weaving this thread, yarn thread. Okay, so I am now back at the beginning, and we have this one post in the center, which is exactly what I want. I'm gonna cut away from my ball of yarn. I don't need that much that I have here, just about that much is fine. So now I'm gonna cut away from my ball of yarn, bring my lid over, place my cover over the top of my lid like that. And you can do this on a jar, which I can bring this jar back over. We'll do it on the jar. And as you see, I've added some potpourri to it. So I'm just gonna put that lid on the jar. Put the cover over the top of that ring, nice and firm. And then you're going to want to do a surgeon's knot if you're using a thread of choice here, thin stuff. You're going to want to do a surgeon's knot, which is to yarn over twice for that very first time of making a knot. That'll help hold it in place. And you just cinch it down onto that lid like such. And then make another knot and place a bow. That's all there is to this particular design that I did. Nothing super special. I'm gonna make these a little bit smaller here. And there you have it. A lid cover on a mason jar that's filled with potpourri that can sit on the table or on the countertop and be decorative for whatever season. You could do these in red and green or whatever you choose, spring colors. Cotton yarn is absolutely fine, but like I said, this is like a scrap buster project. I grabbed some yarn and just started working it up. So at any rate, I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. And I would love to see your project if you decide to make these. From my tutorial, I would love either an emailed picture or join our Facebook group if you have Facebook. However you would like to show off your work, I would love to see it. So be blessed, be a blessing, and bye for now, everyone.